one of these poems by Liz Lockwood. Yeah, it was really nice. That's what I was mentioning to somebody else. The Poets Laureate were all there, you know, Calgary, Windsor, I can't remember who all was there, but 12 or 13 of them. Janet Rogers was there and Liz was there, and I went down just to surprise them. Had a great time. And she and I come from the same village, went to the same school, Liz and I. Yeah, just ask me questions. I'm looking for a poem called Nearly Miss Scotland.
So how long have you been in this place?
Since 1984 or 5, something like that. I was next door for a bit. And that's one of those other paintings there from that period. Signed 1978, and then ashes went over it. This one was slightly different, you know, because I had masked out quite a few, just completely covered them, and stuck bits of hair on. But this one, I'd rather use the ashes to make a new element, to add some new things to what was there before, and obliterate as well stuff that was there before.
Looks like you scratched out some parts in the ashes though.
It used to be a painting, and the subject of the painting was my grandmother lying in a hospital bed in Edmonton, or Redwater, Alberta, I think it was Redwater. And the angel of death was there administering to her. And I went out of favour with angels. And this was one where I kind of obliterated the angel by using that sarcophagus shape. I call this mummy granny ball lightning, and because I was interested in that kind of energy at the time.
So that central sphere, is that a personal icon, or is that something?
That was a personal icon at the time, because every time we'd have a party, we would talk about, you know how you talk about things at parties?
Yes.
One of the favourite topics was ball lightning. And you know, we'd talk about it. The next time I see Brad, he will have remembered or read something new about ball lightning, and we would discuss it some more. Its relation to, what's that when people just die, you find them and they're all burnt away? Spontaneous combustion.
Oh, yeah.
It's often ball lightning with them. Or else smoking.
So is the red cover got to do with the place that?
It was there before. The hospital must have had a red coverlet on the bed.
Because you mentioned that she's from
Redwater.
Redwater.
Is the name of the town.
Yeah, it just seems to fit
village.
with the red water and the red cover.
Definitely does. And out the window, particularly, it reminds me of the prairies. Nothing much there, I mean.
So the silhouette on the right, is that your grandmother as a young woman, or?
Well, see, I think Mummy is the sarcophagus. I think Granny's still in the middle, and Ball Lightning's in the middle. But I think this is Granny in her young day, before she died.
Yeah, that's what it feels
Long
like.
before she died.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
Not my mummy, because my mummy had no relation to. That was my dad's mum, actually.
So you put these ashes on, whatever it is, 20 years later. Is it because the painting wasn't really resolved, or you just...
The painting was fine, and it was precious to me, and it was still the same story. I mean, after I had obliterated, I showed you a couple where I just covered the whole thing with ashes, although generally I'd make some acknowledgement of what was underneath, either by spotting it with hair or some other thing. In this case, separating the ashes out and making them pictorial elements themselves. But really, I'm not just concerned with painting when I'm painting, because at least most of the days, sometimes during the day I'm concerned about other questions in life, and sometimes the preponderance of paintings sitting around is part of that. I like to look at them. They're part of my history, part of myself. And if I can see a way of changing it to make it fit better with how I feel today, then I find that's quite rewarding. I think it's quite interesting. I can actually see the old painting as well as the new painting. So,
Have you ever regretted?
do I regret it? No.
No, not in this case, but are any of the ones, do you regret any? That, oh gee, why did I do that? No?
No. Because I can still see the paintings underneath. I can still remember. I mean, the audience, of course, doesn't know any of this, but I'm not painting for the audience, am I? No. So it's really interesting to me. I don't think the audience can ever be as interested, maybe a few, as I am in these paintings particularly, because I believe in the painting underneath as well as the painting on top. And I'm intimate with the painting underneath as well. So it's still there, in every respect it's still there. It could be reclaimed, of course, if it was that important. The conservators would scrape those ashes off. And
No, they'll just do a special scan because they won't want to take the ashes off.
no, they don't want to do that. Of course, I don't want them to do. It's funny though, isn't it?
It's almost like how humans evolve over time. Like what we look like as a child or as a teenager or as a young adult is changes, and doesn't mean that what's underneath in our below the skin isn't there. It's our faces are.
We're just doing a little interview. Yeah. That's my musical partner, Shaka. Do you know Shaka, my musical partner?
No.
Okay. But we're not into the music today, it's the visual art for today, right? So I tend to sit here, adapts quickly into reclining, and I've got a laptop.
I just want to show you what Roy Green asked me to ask you. There it is. The question is, what paintings has he done that have been most popular?
Yeah, that's funny. Definitely, this is another beautiful portfolio that I found outside. In fact, one good thing maybe we could do today is go and bring down the last box and see what's inside. I have no idea. No, Roy, I think the Happy Faces were some of the most popular in terms of people liking them and wanting to take them away, which I think that's what Roy means.
Yes.
It's the only way I can judge.
Well,
But,
I'm guessing also because I didn't talk to him personally.
This may have been the first Happy Face. I looked a little bit kind of saintly and in a pre-Renaissance kind of way.
Looks like a spaceman to me.
And this one's getting... I did about 50 of these. And
What's the material you used? What's the medium?
these are kind of black gouache and temperature watercolor gouache. And
There's one up there.
yeah, there's quite a few. They were quite popular. Personally, I remember when I opened this box and I saw, as well as these, all their Happy Faces. BC mushrooms. They were quite popular. So I need to just gouache. Amanita. I think this is some sort of polypore. you know, the hard black. This one kind of is a word for anthropomorphic kind of design. Looks a little Mexican to me, but it's the same old mushrooms. These were 1992, I think, or 3. BC mushrooms. I sold a few of these, but then after the show, I just packed them up in this paper and put them back in the box.
It's almost brain, like inside the mushroom is like a brain.
What, a breeze?
Brain.
Brain. Yep.
Organs.
This one's like a brain for sure. This is Pantherina.
Homage to Picasso.
Yeah, potassium. And there's a mushroom, I don't know if you've seen it, it's bright pink. A little small mushroom. I think it goes with Douglas fir. Oh, 91, these are dated, that's what it was. Last one. Hands or something. Yeah, there's an animal there. So,
Do you feel these are? Here, let me help you put those
okay,
back.
can you put them back to
Absolutely.
the flats and kind of.
Yeah. So you feel yourself relating to being a mushroom with the hands?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like am I a mushroom?
Yeah.
Kind of. In terms of raising a consciousness and being living things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they're about furthest removed from us on the evolutionary tree as can be, yeah? The mushrooms.
I'm surprised these ones weren't really popular.
You're surprised.
I mean, that these weren't more popular than the
Sold a
happy
few.
faces.
Sold a few. I mean, there's a couple there, but I can't explain why they didn't sell. But the right person didn't see them, you know, because that's what it takes. It takes somebody to really like something. As we know, and for Roy, I mean, you can't make people buy stuff. That's one of the biggest disappointments about the visual art. People don't have to buy it, and I think that's okay. I didn't show you that one because I've never really liked it as much, but
Why?
I'm going to humiliate myself. I'm going to present
What
it
is
to
it
you.
about that you
I
don't
don't
like?
know. I think it's because it's a clear cut, and I never ever actually went out on any clear cuts looking for mushrooms. This, in a sense, is a fabrication and a lie, but it's okay. In the middle, there's a nice little conglomeration of things.
But it's also one of your war references because if you got the khaki, the camouflage fabric or something within the nature itself.
Like here, someone.
Well, just the colors.
Oh yeah.
It's
Yeah.
almost like the remnants of.
Kind of interesting.
So you don't disapprove of it because
Sorry.
you said you didn't want to show that one, and it isn't because it wasn't successful as a piece. It's because
I just
Personally-
I don't like it. I don't like it. Yeah, I don't like it. If I hadn't done it, I wouldn't miss it. And I also remember it was one of the first or second of these. I numbered it number one. I think it was the first, and I wasn't really into it. I don't dislike it. I'm trying to, dramatize it a little bit for you, but
you said it was because it was a lie because you didn't do it in a clear. You hadn't done it
I've
in a
never
clear
been
cut.
in a clear cut.
Well, is that
That's
important?
right. I never really grew to love this thing. If you want the truth, it's okay. I don't, and also I'm not really surprised that nobody seems harsh up here. seems unlike the others in the series as well, and that its place in the thing, right? Everything else is a little bit more misty and some, well, there's a little horizon. So. Yeah, and it's no big deal, you know. I think if yeah, it's not my favourite. I just remembered those other, since somebody mentioned something about I was looking for those. Oh, I was looking for the one I sent up to Prince George. But I realise it's up in Prince George, that's why I can't find it. I've actually been looking for it today. Wanted to show. Oh, yeah, very funny.
At what point did you do that work, the spheres and the machinery on the pillar?
This one here?
Yes.
It's a found canvas, came from the garbage. Somebody had spray painted the solar system, and it's a year old or 2 years old. And there's another one over there against the wall underneath the encryptometons. Also somebody who was fascinated with the solar system. And the other one, of course, I found on the same pile is the one with the young lady, old lady over there. And that was a factory painting that I found outside against the garbage can, and I totally repainted it. I'm very interested in this work, even though it's somebody else did the main feature.
What interests you?
I didn't think it was very well painted. In fact, it wasn't stenciled, and the details in here were really bad. But it still looked like if you knew what it was, then you could recognise it.
What interests you? You said you were really interested in.
Why am I interested in this?
Yeah.
I'm going to put it in the bright light.
You have an easel.
Well, I think that the topic, is it an old woman or is it a young woman, is culturally and historically kind of relevant today. The whole thing, the crown, the puffery, the sophistication of that thing, whatever it is on her head. Is it a peasant shawl or is it a really rich chapeau? The way it's painted, the way it was painted, the fact that I could take some of my skills and paint it in better. I made the oval and then I made the stripes just to focus in on the, to make it a new composition really. The oval isn't there. Now it looks like a mirror, right? Now it looks like I'm looking in the mirror. Am I an old man or a young man? So, yeah, I like the economy. The fact that somebody else could make an enlargement of this old 19th century or earlier 18th century cartoon with the young woman, old woman, leave it out there for me, and I could, I consider using some finesse to propel it into a new stage, a new place to be. I don't know if it means the same thing as just the trick, because people look at it. I mean, I have fun with people looking at it, Yeah, an amazing amount of people have never seen this thing.
Mm.
An amazing amount of people don't know about the little black and white pen that you've seen in every art book. Surprising number of people don't have any clue, and don't have any clue that there are two images there.
Do they all see
They usually
young
see
one?
the young woman first, yeah. Yeah, you see the pretty one first. And I think the older woman there, she's maybe not pretty, but boy, does she have character. And look at the smile. Yeah. So,
Do you think it has something, your involvement with this has something to do with the Jungian animus kind of thought process too?
I mean, I have a collection other than my paintings. And it's a very, very big collection. And it's mostly composed of ephemera, historical photographs, waybills, receipts, advertising materials. Huge collection. And I've kind of managed to stop collecting. But if I saw something that I didn't have, I would probably grab it. But I've got like,
suitcases are full of?
I have, that's part of my collection. I have 55 or 60 of those cases filled with stuff. So I figure that obsessive compulsive disorder that makes hoarders, are you one?
No.
Okay. Well, it's hard to understand, but it's very difficult. The place can get crowded. And but nevertheless, you always want one more, especially if it's different. And I think that's why I've tried always to do things differently the next time, one after the other. I try not to do what I did before, unless I'm on a topic where I want to make 50 happy faces, so a couple of hundred of these. Which I could talk about later. But in this case, I thought I didn't have one of these in the collection, even though it was a famous motif from days gone by. I don't think I've got one in the collection in here. I know I've got it in a book somewhere, but I thought this is it. This is the biggest one I have ever seen, and now I'd say it's the most polished one I've ever seen. Most of them are just black and white, but this is a full-fledged paint job. And it's in terms as simple as that I evaluate my purpose and the value of the piece. I think it's got value just because I bring it into my collection. Something that could have stayed beside the garbage can and somebody could have said, oh, that's one of those young lady, old lady things. And give it a kick or something. But no, I'm glad to have rescued her and save her place for a while. I enjoyed painting it as well, but it was painted with spray bombs, so there's little spray bomb textures there that I could never have done. There's a red dot in the headkerchief at the back of her neck there, that's just beautiful. That was there. Some of the other red dots I invented. But just the quality, the spray bomb, all I did was paint the oval and paint the white stripes there. I concentrated more on the middle. Yeah, I'm glad we've spent a little bit of time on that one.
Well, with this work and with a lot of your work, you're not afraid of space. You leave it alone, you let it do its job in the work, and that's consistent with everything that I've seen of yours. And why is that? Why are you comfortable with space? Because some people have this need to fill everything and not leave anything alone, but you let the space work for you. You let the kerchief or the stripes just be.
Yeah.
And I see that in this figure here, or in the head up above, or the work that we were just looking, or even just the figures that are silhouettes. You just let it speak. Is that something to do with where you're from, or from Edmonton, or
Don't
just
know.
your?
Something to do with space, perhaps, because you pointed to the one up top.
Well, all of them. Like those, just on that wall, there's so many that are.
Well, you know, people have compositional trademarks and characters, and I've been studying some people's work. Every shape, and some people's work goes out of the edge of the canvas. Every shape goes out of at the closest edge. I thought, wow, is that a rule when I was studying this particular artist? I have to check. No, other people don't do that. I don't do that usually. I'm very fond of, even though I like making complicated compositions, I like a central subject and a field, because it's simple and direct. So, two things. I'm very interested in composition, and I'm very interested in creation of deep space as well as 2D space. So sometimes simplicity helps when you want to make the illusion of depth like this. The fact that it's black and white and composed of the same elements in each of these little panels makes it fun for me.
So what about influence on your work? Or is it an influence, or is it just that you are so interested in other artists that sometimes their stuff creeps into your...
I know I have influences.
I mean, like Larry Rivers. You weren't thinking Larry Rivers when you were working on that one?
Why?
Well, I mean, to me, like it has the sense of his space, the stenciled words.
Do you know Devin Revelle? Have you ever seen the man walking around town?
No?
He's quite tall, that's his height. I happen to have a big canvas, and he's quite tall, and I made it sure with a tape measure that the figure on the canvas there is 6'4". So,
But this is quite different from like a lot of your works. I mean, how detailed the face, it's very naturalistic, the hands. I mean, you do that with some works, but... And then just, I don't know, the stencils and the way the hands are drawn.
well, he was standing there, and I had to, it was my job to paint his portrait. So I got a chair, I stood on the chair, because he's way taller than me, and to do the face. When I was younger, my eyes were good. I discovered when I was trying to paint Devon, especially since he was higher than me, like I couldn't get close enough to see exactly, you know, what was going on and some of the details. So I spent a little bit of time on his face, but I didn't spend much time on the rest of his figure. And yeah, it's representational, of course, because I wanted to make it look like him.
But that just came from you. That's not from looking at somebody else.
I mean, you never even thought of Larry Rivers when you know Larry Rivers, right?
I didn't think he did portraits.
Oh yeah, he did lots.
Okay, that's good. No, I don't know what you're talking about.
No, I guess it's just because, you know, the face is so focused on, and then you have lots of wash and stuff, and then the hands are beautifully drawn.
Yeah, I like
And then
doing
the
it.
stencils.
That's pretty much my painting. I mean, show you another one over here. Just saw it earlier. It's kind of... So, what I remember about this is that this painting is here because it's in a what we call a group. It's in a, what do we call it?
Series.
A series. This was there are 5 of them, and this was the 5th. This was in the middle.
How did you come to start this series?
I think it may have started with this one. So, what this series is hands or plants and animals, flowers and animals. There's a couple more over there. But it went from, and there's another one out which is much more romantic with roses and hands. But yeah, so like when I look at this painting, I refer myself to these ones here where it came from.
But what was the... how
Like I
did you
couldn't have painted that without doing these other ones.
Yeah, but how did you start? Like, what was in your mind when you initiated the series?
Sometimes nothing's in my mind when I start, or sometimes it's just hands and flowers with no great detail. I don't use sketches or anything. Usually just start with a drawing on the canvas or paper and then paint it. I'm lucky then everything turns out differently, but then I think why shouldn't it? You know, it would be strange if everything came out the same. And depending where you start, so I'm conscious too. If I started here last time, I'm going to start here this time. If I did that this last time, well, I'm going to do this time. And after a while, you know, when you get all these things that you've tried to make intentionally different, you'll see exactly how much of a sameness there is between them all, even though on the face of it. Because, and I can see this sameness because of where they belong. I mean, this painting, even though it's radically different from this one, it's not different at all. Along with this one, and the young lady, old lady, these three happen together one after the other. So you see the black and white relates in each one, because I'm consciously saying I want to pursue this, but I want to do something else.
Well, you've got this, the stripes, but then you've got the
So do
space.
you.
Yeah, but you've got the spacing very similar here, and you also have the oval in the middle of that stripe.
Yeah.
And then the stripes translate into another shape, but still spherical.
That's how it happens.
Yeah.
So, you know, for me, I'm not looking at that one painting. I'm looking at feeling about where it's going, and one after the other. And even, I don't, so even though they're radically different, the commonality, by the way, is, yeah, I didn't think about the oval, but this was a little advertising motif about this size, and I just blew it up and changed it a little bit. I thought it was a great icon. It was a small icon, and I wanted it to be a big icon.
So do you work from, like, do the one and then do the other, or do you do them all at the same time? or go
No
back?
one then the other, but I'm very impressed with these black and white stripes that I haven't, you know, I just did them here for obvious reasons to isolate the figure in the middle, and it makes it a much nicer composition than what it used to be. And it's, actually I did this one first, second, and that one third. Oh, relations. The little piece on the fire chimney up there up top is from 1974, and I don't see a hell of a lot of difference between that painting and what I'm doing today.
That's when did you do that one?
A year ago.
A year ago.
There may not be, you can see a lot, you're still doing a lot, but there's a lot of difference in your work during even during a year. It changes greatly. Like, it's not, it'd be hard for some people to say, oh, that's a James Lindsay and that's a James Lindsay.
You think so?
I think so.
Yeah,
I mean, if they
I
stop-
think so too.
yeah.
I mean, I'm interested when things happen that have never happened before. This never happened before. I spilled some paint. Well, look at it. It's beautiful. because I spilled some paint. So I'm keeping this one around, working on it slowly, because it wasn't meant to be, you know, so I'm trying to come to terms with how I spilled this paint. It was a newspaper or plastic or something there. It's just so beautiful. And sometimes it's surprising. I was doing this one with the little gas pipeline and the bombings up in Tom's Lake. I mean, this little RCMP dude carrying away, he just almost appeared by himself. You know, when you're painting,
Yeah.
and suddenly you see a little figure there. So to me, it was totally providential, because that's what I was painting about, the pipeline bombing, and next thing you know, there he is. Sometimes I'm amazed, sometimes I'm surprised when things like that happen.
That almost looks like a shark's fin there too.
A shark?
Shark fin
This guy?
right here.
Yeah, it does actually, doesn't it?
You're obviously an excellent draftsman. I mean, the ear, the definition of the ear on the figure on the far right, listening to what's going on. It's extraordinarily powerful. How do you feel about bringing the quite abstracted with the precision of the figure?
You know, I remember when I was younger, and I remember thinking what I wanted to do was exactly that. I remember thinking what I want to do is merge or meld abstract painting with representational painting in the same within the boundaries of one piece. I remember thinking, and I remember early attempts to do that, you know, just by doing a little realistic thing and something else, and it never really worked. But now I recognise it. When I forgot that that's what I wanted to do. In fact, when I decided that I was going to do something else entirely different, but that's what I wanted to do. And I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I can see now that clearly in one or two pieces I've managed to integrate elements, and it's there's a spontaneity to it that I'm happy with. The earlier attempts, there was no spontaneity. Yeah. But yeah, I've succeeded in my own objectives in that respect. But it was interesting that I lost track of those objectives and then remembered that, yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing.
That's Liz Lockheed.
That's Liz Lockheed.
So I got one more question from Roy. Actually, it's a multiple phase question. So Roy asks, who are your favorite artists or artist? Who is your favorite artist? And who is your favorite musician? And who's your favorite poet? And can Victoria be better? Cats or dogs? Boxers or briefs?
I like a couple of favourite artists. No? Who's my favourite? Yeah, I guess no.
I guess no. Or whenever.
I kind of like, he's a friend of mine, and a friend of my son's actually, and I know him very well because of that, but I like what Alex Morrison is doing. And I've seen him around for the last 25 years too, and he does different things, but he's got what we were talking about here, these things. He does the same thing. It's different, but it's the same thing. It's to do with habitation and structure and construction. But yeah, I like his work. Well, there's a lot of people. I really like a lot of people. Like so many people. I don't know.
So what about musician and poet? and or
No, it kind of changes for me. I like Liz this week because I just saw her last week, and I'll always love her, of course. And that poem was from 20, 30 years ago. She does different things too, but she's got her own voice, which is always the same. She's always herself. And similarly, I like our poet laureate, Janet Rogers. And I like her because she's our poet laureate. And I think that's a great thing. And here's what I wanted to say. It would be really good if they could do a thing with visual artists like what they did with the Poets Laureate in Edmonton for the Poetry Fest, where they had 12 or 13 of them together and they did a panel discussion. Now, I know what we do can't be done with a panel discussion, but what struck me was that the individual cities were getting such a great promotional value from their Poet Laureate program, which probably doesn't cost a lot. I don't know how much they give the Poets Laureate, but there they are all getting together and representing their own hometown in Edmonton, and I thought, no, that's worth so much to the city of Victoria. Do they realise that? And of course, probably they do. But do they realise they could be doing something like that with visual artists as well? And so, is there a way to do that? And that's the hardest thing in being here, is getting away from it, you know, and if, yeah.
well, that's
I can't figure it out, but there's something there that would be good to do. The Poet Laureate term is a 3-year term. Something similar for visual artists would be terrific. And then people are actually coming to terms with what it means to have an audience, right? Because it's mandated. You write a poem every year about the Johnson Street Bridge or the new high-rise or wherever. No, we could do that just as easily.
Is there something that you would like your public to take away with the experience they have with what you're doing, your life? Is there something that you really want people to know that maybe they don't know? Or maybe they do?
I could make something up.
Sure, why not?
The thing is that I did make something up, you know, and it's hanging on the walls, so
It's your work.
that's it.
Yeah.
Definitely either interviewer or interviewee is not my thing. But thanks for coming. It was good to have you here.
Well, thank you, James, Lindsay.
And sorry for not answering all the questions.
That's okay,
Yeah,
Bob.
we didn't get the boxers and brief part.
Or the cats and dogs.
Which?
Boxers or briefs?
That's one of Roy's questions. Boxers or briefs, cats or dogs?
I don't see any cats or dogs here.
I like Roy. Roy's good.
What about artists who you've been influenced by? If not now, when you were...
Well, I think we get influenced when we're young. I mean, totally influenced. And I know there's some Graham Sutherland and Francis Bacon, that kind of school.
That's Brian Grissom talked about that in his...
About me or about himself?
No, about you.
You mentioned that, and I was thinking, well, I thought more of Francis Bacon, but then when I saw those mushrooms, they really made me think of Sutherland.
Yeah. No, I've got other things too, but I mean, comparing the big fella over there, the portrait, I mean, it was going to be a representational work, and my challenge was trying to capture the height and majesty of this young man, and that was 2002. And so when I brought it back into the studio recently, I was surprised to see how tall he was. And I had met him after 10 years, he left town also during the period this painting was stored outside. And he's just the same. You know how you say you're just the same? You haven't aged a bit? That's what I felt about the painting, you know, and yeah, the painting was fixed and he was real. And he had aged, obviously, but
Oh, I was gonna say,
It was
if,
like
if
it's
he
so-
hadn't aged, you better check and make sure the painting isn't showing signs of
painting
aging.
had
Yeah,
aged.
Dorian Gray.
Yeah.
That's funny.
A tartan poke and a constipated bubbly joke, plus well-known soak, a member of our sporting fraternity, who was guaranteed his place in eternity as a well-pickled former member of the Scotland squad, and the likes of them were acting God, being real men, scoring us on a scale of 1 to 10. They'd compare and contrast, and then at last they'd deign to pronounce and reverse order announce it. Then I would simper, look sweet, and I'd burst out greeting, "Gasp, who, me?" The usual story. They'd plonk me down, stick on the Miss Scotland croon to crown my crowning glory. How would they guys like to be a prize? A cake everybody wanted a slice of. Have every leering schoolgirl considered them a pearl everybody kent the price of. How would they like their mums to say that their bums had always attracted the ladies' glances and nothing rang with it? They'd aye gan along with it and encouraged them to take their chances. And they were good boys, their mums' pride and joys, saving it for their future wives. And despite their fame they still stayed at home and lived real clean living well lives. In a blinding flash, I saw the whole thing was trash. I just saw red, and here's what I did. Now I'd love to report that I was the sort to speak out and convince the other lassies, pick bones with all the chaperones, and single-handedly convert the masses, telling a bacchanalian revenge of the Barbie dolls, crying all for one and one for all. We advanced on the stage, full of bloodlust and rage, but I cannot tell a lie. The truth is that I just stuck on my head square and snuck away out of there. I know I did right, it wasn't contrary. And I let my oxters grow back in, really red and thick and hairy, because the theory of feminism's all very well, but you've got to see it for yourself. Every individual has to realise her hale fortune isn't in men's eyes. Say enough is enough. Away and get stuffed.